Yo guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. Now, I did a video quite recently on whether I thought that Andor was rushed out, and why I thought, like, out of every series that Disney could have, rushed, why Andor? Like, it doesn't really make sense because it is, like, it's definitely my favourite series that the Disney has produced. The only other show that is up there with that series has got to be The Mandalorian, in my opinion. So, yeah, I went over that in a lot of detail in that video. So, yeah, if you haven't gone ahead and checked it out and you do enjoy Star Wars content, then go ahead and check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. I definitely got into the details and the nit pieces of that that whole idea, and I sort of analysed the new release schedule for Andor and sort of thought, maybe it would have benefited for Andor to have a couple more seasons, as I think Season 1 worked really, really well. I think Season 1 worked well in the fact that it was a slow burning series, so we could really, really relate with the characters quite a lot. And yeah, Season 1 of Andor was just an insanely well made series, and I loved it, absolutely. But yeah, if you want to hear about Andor talk, then go ahead and check out the video. Today we're going to be talking about the 2026 movie The Mandalorian and Grogu, and why this could be the last hope for Disney Star Wars actually doing something decently. Because at this point, Disney Star Wars is kind of hanging on by a thread, and yeah, we're going to talk about a load of aspects of this in today's video, including some stuff about, what could have happened if George didn't sign Star Wars over to Disney, and kind of the plans that we missed out on, and what we got instead. So yeah, if you are a fan of Star Wars content and you enjoy Star Wars content, then please do go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm trying to make an effort to try and make some more Star Wars content on this YouTube channel. I do usually make Doctor Who content, but I do that like every single week. But I'm trying to get as many of these Star Wars videos in as possible because, equally as much as I love Doctor Who, Star Wars has been a huge part of my life in terms of, a movie and a franchise that I really, really love and enjoyed. I grew up on the 6 original George Lucas Star Wars movies, and they were just an amazing staple of my childhood, and also a huge reason why I got into filmmaking myself, and why I'm sort of inspired by George Lucas in the sense that I want to go out and create good, high quality movies that are, solely about the storytelling and telling a story, rather than anything else. So yeah, very, very inspired by Star Wars, and I definitely want to make more Star Wars content. So yeah, if that's something you guys think you'd be interested in, please do me a favour and smash a like on this video and hit that subscribe button, because we're trying to get to 100k subscribers on this YouTube channel, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you guys. So yeah, if you enjoy this kind of videos and you enjoy this content, and you'd be interested in more Star Wars videos, or even Star Wars projects like Star Wars fan films or any of that kind of stuff, if any of that kind of stuff does interest you, we're likely going to be doing some of that, if not all of that stuff, in the future on this channel. So hit that subscribe button and like the the video, and let's get into this video right now. So, Star Wars is in a bit of an interesting place at the moment, because we've just had a couple of releases, including, but not limited to, we had the Acolyte, which was a bombshell. To put it in a nice way, a bombshell. To put it in a not so nice way, it was a shit show. Because we, as Star Wars fans, expected this really, really interesting part of Star Wars. Like, basically, they were going to go to, like, the, pre-Skywalker saga, prequel era, and, go way before that and tell Star Wars from that point of view. But it essentially just ended up being a mess of a show. Quite frankly, because it was made for all the wrong reasons, and them reasons were not storytelling. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, it just turned out to be a really poorly written show, and as a result of that, Season 2 got cancelled, and rightly so. It got cancelled, but they just released the Skeleton Crew, and Skeleton Crew really didn't get that much hype, and I think part of that was to do with the Acolyte flopping so badly that, like, Disney Plus lost a ton of subscribers after that that series aired. And I don't know whether, like, Skeleton Crew was just too little too late, and because it's actually been received quite positively, and a lot of people have been saying, like, if, like, a younger person was to get into Star Wars, that's the show to watch, kind of thing. But then again, saying that, personally, I haven't actually seen Skeleton Crew yet, because, well, there isn't that much of a drive to go and see it. But one show that I am very much looking forward to seeing is Andor Season 2. But, with that season, it's basically the last season of Andor. So, Andor Season 2 is not going to be the show to revive Star Wars in any means, no matter how good Andor Season 2 is. And I think it's going to be really, really good, because Season 1 was spectacular, and Season 2 is hyped up to be basically Season 1 but on steroids, and, like, to a blockbuster level. So I'm very, very excited personally to watch Andor Season 2, and I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to end up renewing my Disney Plus subscription, and then basically watching Andor, but just before I watch Andor, I'll just binge the entirety of the Skeleton Crew, because I don't think it's gonna, it warrants me, purchasing a subscription before Andor, basically. But yeah, so yeah, Andor's probably gonna be amazing, but it definitely doesn't have that potential to revive Star Wars in the way that Star Wars needs to be revived. And that leaves us with the only thing we have left, which is the Mandolorian and Grogu movie. Now, this is set in the Mandoverse, so the Mandalorian, like that whole thing. And to be completely honest with you, I think that is, they're putting their eggs into one basket here, and I think they're doing the right decision in doing that. Because, for the most part, The Mandalorian has been such an amazing series. Season 1 was a massive, massive hit. The numbers actually, like, they broke records with that season, I'm pretty sure, on Disney Plus numbers. And, yeah, what a start to Disney Plus Star Wars with The Mandalorian Season 1. Just a phenomenal season. And then obviously Season 2 and Season 3 have got less viewership and less interest because, well, as you do a series, each season, usually you drop a little bit of interest with each season. So that's kind of usually how it goes. So, the question is, how can they revitalize some hype and draw the attention back towards The Mandalorian? And the answer is actually quite ingenious. Drop a Star Wars movie. You know, we haven't had a Star Wars movie since the sequels, and the sequels ended in 2019. Or 2018, 2019, somewhere around that period. 2019, I think it was, though, when the final episode of the Skywalker saga dropped, and that was the last time we had a Star Wars film. So we haven't had a Star Wars movie release for 6 years now? And it'll be going on to about 7 years when we get round to the Mandolorian Grogu's release. And I think this is a really, really clever way of capitalising on the hype of a new Star Wars film and then taking something which people also love in The Mandalorian as well and sort of smushing together the audience into one big audience. Now, this is a huge, huge opportunity for Star Wars currently because they've got a lot of eyeballs which are going to be on this one project. And I think that if this movie turns out to be amazing, I'm talking perfectly written, beautifully shot, VFX out of this world, really, really top tier Star Wars, that they could generate a lot more interest in future Star Wars projects just from this one movie. Now, the people who are involved with this and who have been involved with The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who I believe are working on this movie as well, they also run a part, and they also worked on Star Wars The Clone Wars as well. And I believe it was Star Wars The Clone Wars they did like work on as well. And one thing that I've got to give credit to in The Clone Wars is how much they involved George Lucas and how close to George they were and how much they were willing to incorporate his ideas into that project as a whole. And I think going forward, one of the big things that, Star Wars really needs to do is they need to understand Star Wars. They need to understand what George Lucas was making with them first 6 movies and translate it into more stories. So take this legendary story of cinema, which arguably is the best story in cinema history, and expand upon it in a way that you're not going to be going over or destroying or taking away from what George Lucas made in the first place. And that's kind of something that shows, like, the Acolytes, for example, did. They said, okay, Star Wars is this, but we want to do this with Star Wars, and we think Star Wars should be this. I mean, The Acolyte was literally written by people who didn't know Star Wars. People who like, factually got parts of Star Wars lore incorrect. And if these people who were working on that show, then obviously they're not following in the footsteps of George Lucas and making something that, I mean, George would be, or there would be Star Wars from George's, like, perspective, I suppose. Because if anybody understands Star Wars the most, it is George Lucas. And in projects like the Clone Wars season, the final season of the Clone Wars, really just shows that when you involve George Lucas and you sort of create and understand Star Wars, and I think that with The Mandalorian, this is the closest project to understanding Star Wars, I'd definitely say. So if they can hit this again with The Mandalorian and Grogu, I think this could be like the one project that could revive Star Wars, and that could potentially mean that, you know, that could potentially mean, you know, a rise in popularity again for Star Wars, which would be absolutely amazing and something that I would absolutely love to see. So I'm going to go ahead and show a couple of pictures on screen as well of just some, like, promo stuff for The Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't know if this is, like, official or whether this is just, like, you know, just artwork, I suppose. But yeah, very excited for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and it is actually quite close, with it being in 2026. Also, as well, one thing that I've kind of got to notice as well, and why I think that they are really putting all their eggs in this basket particularly, is because there isn't really any Star Wars shows that are, like, announced as per se. We've got Andor Season 2, and then realistically I think that's it for now. We could have another season of Ahsoka before this, but the main thing that everyone's talking about at the moment is The Mandalorian and Grogu. 100%. And Andor Season 2 as well. But The Mandalorian and Grogu kind of takes all of the limelight in this sense of things. But yeah, I just thought I'd do this little video on the movie. And yeah, I'm very excited for this to come out. I can't wait to go ahead and watch it. I think it's going to be really insane. And I think if they do this right, they could absolutely make a banger of a film. 100%. But yeah, only time will tell. But yeah, that's basically it for this whole video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe as usual. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.